very warm welcome to another vlog. If you subscribe to the channel, you'll know I switch from subgenre of nature photography to subgenre. From landscape to seascape, from photographing mammals to photographing birds, macro photography and woodland photography, where I find myself today in Tumnafinnog Wood in the southern part of County Wicklow here in Ireland. And there's a question that I have considered from time to time, and I want to try to answer it today. And the question or dilemma is, if we switch from genre to genre of photography, doing wildlife one week, macro another week, woodland another week, seascape the next week, does that make us a better photographer, switching genres? Or does specialisation in one genre, such as macro or bird photography, make us a better photographer? So I'm hoping to answer that question today, provide some insight and consideration, and to dwell on that question in today's vlog. Whilst we walk around this beautiful woodland, the sun is cutting through here. I'm hoping there's a little mist. I can see macro subjects, I can see woodland subjects. I'm standing in my first image. Now, to stay on topic here, last week I had a beautiful break and I intended to leave the camera in the bag. We went to the west coast of Clare and I couldn't pull myself away from the seascapes of Doolin or a pastoral scene near Ballyvaughan where we were staying. And also last night I discovered some images of squirrels that I had taken, that I had passed over. I did a little bit of processing, just sharpening a little bit of contrast on them. So I'm going to put that selection of images up there now, and I'm also going to put up the composition that I'm standing in now, my first woodland shot of today. There's a couple of fungi here in Tumnafinnog, so I hope you'll stay with the vlog, and I hope we're all a little wiser at the end of the vlog in answering or providing a solution to that question. Does specialisation make us a better photographer, or does switching from genre to genre make us a better photographer? So our first composition this morning was pure woodland, a true woodland genre photograph. This image, on the other hand, is really mixing two genres. Macro, because I've used the 24 to 120, what you're seeing now is a wider shot, to place the mushroom, small as it may be in the frame, as the primary subject, but very carefully composing an image in the background that is a true woodland image. In many respects, the trees in the background in this composition were the primary consideration from a composition perspective, and then placing the mushroom between them. So we could really consider this image as an argument in favour of mixing genres. Landscape or woodland photography and macro photography. Seeing the mushroom, the placement of the mushroom in the context of the woodland. So that's 1-0 up with regards to our dilemma on whether it is best to mix and switch from genre to genre in an attempt to make us better photographers. So let's move on to the next subject, and we'll take another aspect of that dilemma and discuss that there. What an absolutely stunning woodland this is. And this scene, this huge oak that I'm standing beneath now, is beautifully backlit. There's lovely layers of trees running down the hill here at Tumnafinnog. Now, one particular advantage of specialisation in a genre is that it enables you to build a portfolio, a theme, a collection of images that fit in a panel, that fit harmoniously together, that fit on a web page. And if we're switching between the different genres of photography, it is far more difficult to build a comprehensive portfolio of images. So I think that's one all. We'll take this photograph. Quite unusual. I tend not to have such an anchor on the right hand side of the frame. There's lovely branches running off the oak. Or actually, it's a small beech tree that's sitting beside it, as they do. And we'll move on to the next composition. Well, if you remember a video from last year on tips for macro photography or fungi photography, one of those tips was perspective and getting down low and just beneath this beautiful arrangement of bonnet mushrooms. Now, I don't know the exact species, and that requires time and effort. Not just to know the species name, but to know where to find them, to know what time of the year they emerge from the earth. And that knowledge is an argument in favour of specialisation in one genre, because it gives us as photographers a better opportunity to get better photographs. Now, luckily, I have a background in birding. So with birding, I have a good rounded knowledge built over the last 40 years. But with fungi, I don't have that knowledge. And if I am to continue to switch from genre to genre, and I do enjoy that, it's unlikely that I'll build that knowledge up to any great degree. Now, knowing a subject, knowing the habitat, etc., and the locations, is not going to make me a better photographer, but it will give me a much better chance of getting better images. So I think that's one for specialisation. It's in the lead, 2-1. So let's move on to the next composition, wherever that may be in this woodland. I have the wide angle, the 14-30 out. When I look at this log, this drew my attention. I then searched for a background, but it's so wide, and I've moved the camera up and down, left and right, to try to get an angle, a snaking line running through the frame that doesn't block or divide the sections of the photograph. And this is the best that I could get. I'm not altogether happy with it. Now, there are fungi here on the log, and I've only noticed that when I've kneeled down here to do the vlog. And I may concentrate on them We'll see if there's one or two nice ones. But in a week or so, the fungi will be gone. Many of them have gone to mush already. And from a macro photography perspective, out in nature, our pickings will get slim through the winter. And that is where switching genres comes into play. It gives us variety. It gives us a large palette to choose from. And it provides a breadth of knowledge, a breadth of interest, a breadth of wonder. So, we're to all. Let's move on to the next location. One of the big draws here at Tumnafinogue are the giant oaks. And if I come down here once or twice a year, I'll always take the upper path, and then we can look down into the upper branches of these enormous oak trees, probably the largest oaks in all of Ireland, certainly the tallest. And I'm just loving what I'm seeing in the back of the camera at 85mm. I tried some wider shots. There's a lot of sky, but the sky is very subdued, as you see. So it's not that bright, and I can just take an exposure a little bit darker. Nothing's been blown out in where the woodland is exposed properly. But that brings me on to gear, and budget. And these are very important considerations for any photographer. If we are considering specialising, let's take, for example, bird photography. We may invest the funds to acquire a large prime lens. And that will get us better results, technical results. We have reach, we have light gathering ability in those lenses. So there is an advantage in doing that if we're willing to invest in the gear. Additionally, if we're specialising in one genre, we become very familiar with that gear, with settings. So technical skills tend to be honed better when we specialise. So I think we're going to give a point to specialisation with regards to that. If we do specialise, we probably would invest in the gear for that genre, and therefore we probably will get better results. It might not make us a better photographer, but if we hone our skills, if we use the technology well, it may well do. So I'm going to give a point to specialization. I think that's 3-2, but I'm losing count. So I'm going to take these beautiful oak trees behind me. We'll put that up and we'll move on to the next location. Creative cross-pollination. There's a mouthful. And that's what switching genre gives you. Because you can take your learnings from woodland photography and apply them to another genre. You can take seascape and water photography, the control over shutter speed to achieve effect. You can mix that with your learnings from macro photography, where focus stacking, where areas of darks and lights are extremely important, where micro detail is essential. And you take that attention to detail and apply it to seascape or woodland photography. Recently, when I reviewed some bird images, I found an image of a hen harrier in Tecumseh, County Wexford, but it was a landscape image. It was a sunset with a hen harrier in it. So I didn't get carried away with the prime I had, the 400mm with teleconverters on. I stood back and I viewed the scene as a whole. I blended landscape and wildlife photography. So switching genres gives you an eye that you can transfer between each genre. And it gives you skills that are transferable, where if you dedicate yourself to one genre of photography, you may be blind of learnings that you may have picked up if you had practiced the other genres. Well, you may see the light has gone, and I've travelled from Tumnafin Wood in southern Wicklow back up to one of my favourite woodlands here in Clara Woods. I was here on the 1st of November, that's 5 days ago, and the scene has totally changed. There's very rich colours, reds and yellows, where I had yellows and greens 5 days ago. And I'm going to play a little piece of video that I took on my iPhone as I scanned this scene that I'm in right now. I put the camera up here and I took the photograph with high ISO, but the richness of the colours in this fading light is just beautiful. And then I accidentally turned my camera around, and from the exact same spot I found a new composition. Now consider I have visited here 6 or 7 times, and I put the tree over here in the centre of the composition. I had never done that before. And that is an advantage of specialising. Although I don't specialise in woodland, I do spend a good portion of my time in the woodlands here in Glendalough. And specialising affords one the opportunity to return again and again, to consider, to study, to analyse compositions that you may have found. Well, I've enjoyed this little exercise of considering whether it's best to specialise or whether we'll end up a better photographer if we switch from genre to genre. I'm convinced that switching from genre to genre results in a better photographer. We pick up skills with each different type of photography we undertake, and those skills are transferable. And I think that point overrides the other points in favour of specialisation. And I've just made the fourth point in favour of specialisation, returning to a spot again and again and again. So that's 4-2 to specialisation. But in my heart and soul, I really believe that practicing a number of forms of nature photography works best. It's also much more enjoyable. But for me, I think it's time to take a break from the woodlands and from macro for this year. I hear the sea calling for me. I hear the call of the whooper swans coming in, and I'd like to take myself down to the waters and the wild, maybe in the next few vlogs. So thank you so much for watching the vlog today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you're going to join me next time, wherever the road may take us.